A student producer of mine sent one of his songs to me requesting my feedback on it, and this is what he sent me. It's a nice vocal. Let's check out the drop. Alright. My student says, I'm officially burned out on this. It just sounds light years away from my artist. He means his favorite artist. How would you make this shine? So clearly some frustration here, but I don't think he realizes he has a great foundation for a song. And I think with some creative adjustments, we can really make this track sound nice. So let's go ahead and fix it up. Whenever you're working with a pre-recorded vocal, or in this case, a remix vocal, you go right to the chords. The chords are what gives the vocal all of its emotion and energy, so you want to get them right. If I'm reaching out, it's for you. If I'm going down, it's for you. Now, I think his chord selection is pretty perfect, but I think we can adjust the voicing a little bit and make the chords a little richer. So this chord is an E major, and so is this one. The second one I don't think adds anything. So I'm just going to delete that and we'll sustain this. This sustained chord should sound pretty good on the entrance of this hook. It's like so nice. This progression is in the scale of E major, and so is his vocal. So I'm seeing he hit a pedal tone here that sits on the E. So using that note as a pedal tone will help enhance any emotion that this chord progression is generating. We can enhance it even more by pulling that third down an octave and having this pedal tone be the highest note in the chord progression. But now we have this little hole in the chords. I want to fill that in by taking these 2/3 on this A chord and B chord and pull that up an octave. We can also fill in more of this hole by adding another pedal tone 4 steps below our E. More notes like that will make the chords sound a little bit richer. If I'm reaching out, it's for you. If I'm going down, it's for you. It's so happy sounding. I love happy songs. My other issue with these chords is that these pianos are very dry. I could sit here and add reverb and a bunch of audio effects to dress these pianos up. However, I found a hidden gem in his project. He has these beautiful airy synth pads. Let's take the voicing that we just added to the piano chords and duplicate them onto the synth pads. I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to take those chords, pull them down an octave. If I'm reaching out, it's for you. I was right. If I'm going down, it's for you. If I'm singing out, it's for you. I think using these pads as the main chord sound in the song is like a one-stop shop to Emotion Town. And since that is just a subjective idea of mine, I'm going to keep all of his ideas in the song as is, and I'm just going to add mine to it so he could decide what he wants to use later. Check out the drums. So this is a drum loop with all of the drums baked into it. Never have your drums on a single loop like this because you have no control over the individual drums in that loop. For example, how do I adjust the reverb on just the hi-hat? Or go into the clap and make it a little quieter? You can't do that when everything's on one loop. So use full drum loops to get going on a song and then rebuild the drums with individual one-shots. For example, here's the kick, alone on its own track. Here are the hi-hats, all on individual tracks, and here's the clap. And then do your best to make your individual drums sound as close as possible to your drum loop. What's this? So it's like a little vocal trance gate. We can bring this out a little bit and make it more of an atmosphere by adding a heavy dose of reverb to it, and then enhance it a little bit with the OTT.
reaching out, it's for you. If I'm going down, it's for you.
These are like a gem.
If I'm reaching out, it's for you. If I'm going down, it's for you.
Now, I didn't even realize we don't have a bass line in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the chords and grab this bottom note of the chords. Just copy it. I'm going to make a new track and paste that note. That note is going to be our bass line. In any song, you're almost always going to use the bottom note of the chords to make your bass. So to make the perfect, most straightforward bass sound, load up any synth of your choice. This is very simple and easy to make. I'm going to use X for Serum. Initialize the preset. Locate a single oscillator on your synth. I'm going to use oscillator A. Go into my list of waveforms and just take a sine wave. Notice how the sine wave has no sharp edges. That means when we press play, we get a really pure frequency band. This is why sine waves are such a good choice for a pure sub-bass sound. The only problem with it is that when we press play, we can feel it, but we can't hear it. So to make your sine waves more audible, you want to go into your effects tab or your audio effects and add any type of distortion that you want. I'm just going to use a tube distortion and pump some heat into our sine wave. See those frequencies? Those are what we're hearing right now. So now we have our wide chord pads and a very centered bass, as you can see here, a monophonic bass. It's like the most satisfying dynamic you could ever create. That's wide pads, narrow bass, narrow vocal. Huge sound. Okay, so the last thing I want to do is work on the drop. Right now, the way he has this arranged is he goes from verse into the hook with these little fluttery things. And that's really pretty, but then he goes back into his drop and repeats the hook again. Now that could work. A lot of songs do that, especially with a very satisfying hook like this one. But I think, since we're here, we should try another drop idea just so he has a couple ideas to compare and contrast, and he can pick the best one. My idea would be to go into a drop where this is the melody. Let's try it. I'm just going to take these flutters and bump them over into the drop. I'm going to mute the hook vocal, and we'll keep it in there, so if he hates my stutter melody, he can revert back to his hook vocal melody. Now I'm just going to take some of his notes and extend them to hit different notes. And then we'll just make a longer, more sustained melody that doesn't have these big spaces. And so now, after a half hour of chopping and rearranging notes, we have this. And just a little pro tip on how to make anything stutter like this, it's actually called a trance gate. This is a free plugin called Trance Gate from Kilohertz. So if we turn that off, our vocal chop melody is just a vocal chop melody. And now you could hear how each section of this chop melody is just hitting individual notes, which really isn't that pleasant on the ears. And then once you add a trance gate to it, get a very pretty stuttering trance gate vocal melody. Okay, so I went ahead and beefed up the arrangement a little bit. I added a nice build up. We have our stutter melody in place. Let's play this back and see what we get. This song is adorable. Anyway, that's the video I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to work with me one-on-one, please see the links below, and I will see you in the next video lesson.